the force of sacrifice. Look at what Psalm 20 verse 1 to 3 says. I wish I had time to chisel these things, but we are out of time. Let me read it. It said, the Lord hear thee in the day of trouble. There is a specific hearing for the day of trouble. May God not hear you in the day of trouble, because there are certain days of trouble that requires urgency. There are some things you are going through that if things don't turn around in 24 hours, it will never be corrected again. Those are the days where this kind of prayers become very, very important. He said, the name of the God of Jacob defend you. Go further and see what the Bible says. It says, send help from the sanctuary and strengthen you out of Zion. Why is God particularly sending you help from the sanctuary? It is in verse 3. It's not everybody that God sends help for from the sanctuary. Now read scriptures and quote them. Find their context. He said, he will remember all thy offerings and accept all thy burnt sacrifices. Do you think when God has an agenda, somebody else deny himself food and go to labor, God is not hearing? You now wake up and say, there's no sacrifice, Jesus died for all of us. If Jesus died for all of us, who will go and do the evangelism? Who will set the stage? And you think God will look at that person who negates his comfort and goes out in the cold to set the stage and ignore him? He said those kinds of people, God sends them help from his sanctuary. We are not the same in the eyes of God. In salvation we are equal, but in kingdom we are different. Because in kingdom God has an agenda, and God can boycott 1 million people to attend to those who are servicing his agenda. Because if those people are not there, his agenda on the earth will be truncated. And so when you find a man of sacrifice, that's a man walking perpetually under the atmosphere of intervention. Make no mistakes about it. Sacrifice is a weapon, and that weapon is most important for the last day. Every time you go out of your way to do something in God's kingdom, it is recorded. In the day of trouble, even if you don't speak, that sacrifice will speak. In Genesis chapter 4 verse 4, the Bible spoke concerning Abel, that he gave a more excellent sacrifice than Cain. And when Cain slew his brother, Abel no longer had mouth to speak, but he said, the voice of thy brother is crying to me from the ground. So when a man enters the corridor of sacrifice, he becomes immortal. He becomes eternal. Even when he's not around, he still speaks. Weapons of the last days. Don't live this irresponsible Christian life where they do nothing. They are just strolling in and out of church. My God, in this world where you need God to be invincible, you can afford to be irresponsible. That's a deception from the pit of hell.